Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Today we're going to do some FAQ. We haven't done this in a while. Go through some comments, look at what you guys are up to. I'm pretty sure this is going to have a singular vision. It's going to be around the SPS staking because I know there's a ton of salty comments. And I saw one from Mike Levy. And so that's like a starting point. And it might not be where we land with this, but I'm kind of expecting this video. It's unrehearsed, it's unplanned, and I expect it to be focused on that saltiness. I have one comment from one audience member. I also have a few comments from one of the recent town hall posts from Splinterlands on Hive. So they're both on that theme. We'll see if that takes the whole video or not, but that's at least our starting point. Before I get into the video though, I want to say a shout out to SplinterCoach. SplinterCoach.com is a website that will track your personalized battle history within Splinterlands. What that means is it'll track your wins, your losses, which monsters are you playing with, which summoners are you playing with, how are you winning when you win, and which rule sets and what mana caps. So it's really detailed data that's personalized for you that's going to help you understand ways that you succeed and ways that you struggle. And from that, I think you can grow. So there's like a utility to this tool, but also there's an enjoyment from it because the data analysis can actually really be fun. And so I'm enjoying it. Splintercoach.com, check them out. They give you a 7-day free trial if you're interested, and they are the sponsor of the video and the channel for now. Thank you guys, and let's get into it. So we used to do this all the time. Whenever they were down for maintenance, I'd do an FAQ and I'd go through the comment section of my channel and just see what you guys want to talk about. And we'd get into, you know, maybe 5-10 different things. And I like that. It's fun when we're down for maintenance. You can't play the game. Let's talk about this game we love. While we do that though, as I do that in preparation, like I said, I peeked over to my comment section, and Mike's got this one from 20 hours ago that I felt almost merited its own video, but it just felt like I say, let's down for maintenance. Let's do the FAQ. I'm going to read Mike's comment about the SPS staking announcement, and I'm going to try and speak to it, but also want to bring in some comments from the Splinterlands Town Hall Hive post, which has comments on this very topic. And it's back and forth, people for and against. And I want to try and articulate my position on this because Mike is almost expressing shock about my place in this, my comment on this. And so let's read Mike's comment. He goes, I don't understand why you can't see why people are salty about the SPS staking announcement. Let me explain. Most of us knew it was coming out, but we did not know the minimum requirements to receive the same amounts of rewards would be so high. The idea of SPS staking is good and necessary. However, its implementation is harsh. We are always torn on where to spend our money: DC, cards, vouchers, land, etc. Most of us can't afford everything, thus the game may fail as players leave. It's a gamble to invest in SPS, so I'm undecided on what to do. As I write this, the SPS price continues to fall as people dump SPS. So there's like cross currents in Mike's comment. And I want to give respect, and I want to give I want to be fair with the analysis of what he's saying, but there are cross currents in his point, meaning like he's pulling one direction in one moment and he's going the opposite direction in another. And if you see things like he said, the idea of SPS staking is good and necessary, and yet it's a gamble to invest in SPS. If SPS staking is good, meaning it will have positive impact on the price of SPS, on the utility of SPS, the power of holding SPS goes up because of the staking. I think, first of all, that seems to be objectively true. But secondly, I think that seems to be the underlying point you make when you say SPS staking is good. And when you say it is necessary, I think the underlying point is something like, we have too much SPS. SPS has lack of utility. This is a form of utility. And so you make that, you imply those arguments with that one small sentence. But then you kind of come back and you say things like it's a gamble to invest in SPS. Is it a gamble? Or is the trajectory of SPS being set on a path through the planning that is aiming at a good place and a necessary place? Do you see how those are kind of incongruent? Now, I could be a little bit more gracious, and I could say, when we use the word gamble, you might mean like there's a high risk element, not necessarily that it's truly like, like a heads or tails, who knows what's going to happen. You might be pointing to saying it's risky in, I don't know what that timeline looks like. It's risky in what, I don't know what the people are going to do. And you talk about how SPS price is dumping. So when you tie those two together, the idea of gambling and the idea of SPS price continuing to dump, quote unquote, the implication seems to be that you don't know if you go in heavy on SPS today at 2 cents, if it's going to go down to 1 cent, and that terrifies you. And I get that, but I also say that is so secondary, and I've said this so many times over the last 2 years, it's entirely secondary to the question of whether or not it makes sense to do that. You need to hold on to two things at once. The first being, there's a lot of risk associated with any cryptocurrency. And yes, SPS is a cryptocurrency. And yes, I think it could go down before it goes up. And maybe things could happen in this game that would prevent it from going up. So there is risk associated with that. And then you have to understand that and hold that truth, but simultaneously reconcile and, wrestle with the questions of whether or not you believe this game is fun and has a future. Because if it is fun and entertaining for you, that's one reason to be here. Set aside, again, the economics right now. And then secondly, if it has a future, meaning that this SPS staking, which you call is good and necessary, is aiming at a place where there will be increased utility and functionality and preference for staking of SPS. I think you're almost making a point that it does have a future, because there's this plan that's going to secure, or at least maybe secure is too confident of a word, but to encourage or possibly solidify or grow that security and confidence of this ecosystem, of this economy. And so I really feel like your comment is coming at it from two opposite angles. You're complaining about how significant, and this is kind of it. It's not so much that you think it's bad, or even that you think it's going to the wrong place, or even that you think it's not fun or not. I think you agree with me on all those things, but the big difference is you think the potency, or like the significant nature of the amount of stake that's been cited as being optimal is too high. And I say to you, man, it's like Aggie said in the town hall. It's like Matt said with NFT Gaming and Collectibles. It's like all the major holders in this game say. It's like a lot of the new non-major holders will say in some of the comments too. Guys, this isn't, you're pointing at an amazing feature and calling it a bug. When we talk about the fact that a lot of SPS is desired because of this announcement, what we're talking about is amazing, powerful utility for SPS, which should be a price driver over the long horizon. I'm not saying over days and weeks. I'm not talking about a flip on tokens. I'm talking about building long-lasting utility in the economics of the game Splinterlands. But more than that, because this is a game that is going to found on other games with things like Invenium and partnering, eventually, essentially bringing Unity in, hopefully, and all that this might be with the growing potential ecosystem and how SPS could be intertwined in all of that. This is the beginning of creating a true foundation, not to mention, this is literally from the white paper. So you talk about, you knew it was coming, and yet you're salty because the requirements, the minimum requirements, this word's wrong, it's not requirements, to receive the same amount of rewards would be so high. Okay, so this is a half truth. It's the idea that you need a lot of SPS to reach levels that you previously thought were yours to have forever. That's part of it. You felt you were receiving rewards at a level that were yours forever, based on the performance, based on the contribution, based on the cards you held. That was a presumption, right? Firstly, but secondly, it's a presumption that you will lose those if you don't have the SPS. This is the thing that everyone who makes these comments is ignoring. You're ignoring the fact that we don't truly know, one, what the what the penalty, quote unquote penalty, will be. This is the exact same story that happened with cards. Remember, we said we had this huge battle about, like, if you don't have diamond level cards, if you don't have at least gold level cards, you will lose reward points when you win in diamond. And people lost their minds. Like, it was so identical to this, because everyone felt they deserved X, and now they thought they were going to get Y. And people like me came out and said, look, when you play with a level 1 chicken in champion, that's fine, because everyone's going to play with a level 1 chicken in champion, because no one cares to have 400 copies of, of chicken when one will suffice. It's really just a meat shield. It's one more 0-mana monster on the field. And the point being that if everyone makes the same problem, does the same error, quote unquote error, then no one benefits from, no one is at a detriment from that new rule. And in this way, on this topic with the SPS staking, the assertion is, the underlying assertion is that everyone else is going to have exactly what they need. All these people out there are going to have all the SPS they need. And here I am over here, and I don't have what I need. And I'm going to be the sole person that's out here in the cold, getting no rewards and who's suffering. That's wrong. It's mistaken, because most people don't have enough. And I've said it on this channel more than once, man. Like, the idea that my SPS videos complaining about SPS staking, selling nodes to buy I'm buying SPS. SPS is more risky than cards, ? Selling cards to buy SPS. Forget CP rewards. Give me SPS player staking. And farther back, there's 74 videos here on SPS. And I've said more than once, man, about the idea that SPS is like, we don't have enough and we can never have enough. And even if it goes down to a penny from 2 cents where it's at today, I'll keep buying, because again, it's not really a question of what is the risk. That's part of the conversation. Like I said, that's one part of the conversation. You got to hold on to that. That's true. It makes sense. You might feel, Mike, that it's going to go to 1 penny. Guys who are listening to this isn't just to Mike. This is for the broad audience of people who think this SPS staking is quote unquote unfair. You have to recognize that part of what you're doing is you're thinking, I don't want to be forced to buy SPS at 2 cents. But first of all, remember, everyone who quote unquote believes in this thing is, I'm going to say again, forced. They're not forced because it's not a requirement. But this idea of if you want optimal, if you want maximum rewards, then you should buy more assets. That's always been the thing with Splinterlands, further up, further in, right? That's always, every element of what this game has been planned, whether it's cards, collection power, DC, staking, SPS, every bit of this game has been built in such a way, merits and gladiators has been built in such a way that it's like, the more you go, the deeper you go, the more reward will be available to you. And this is the next level of that. And it's always been aiming here. And so no, it shouldn't be a surprise, but more than that, again, hold on to the element of the finance. Recognize that, yeah, you know what you're saying, the SPS might go down. You're worried about getting buying at 2 and watching it go to 1. I get that. But are you here for the next days and weeks? Like, is that your plan? Because that's the tone of that sort of sentiment. Or are you recognizing, do you truly enjoy this? And do you truly believe that it's going to be here in 5 years? Because if you think SPS is going to be lower than 2 cents in 5 years, I mean, you should sell everything you own and just never play this game again. Like, guys, hear me. The beauty of Splinterlands is that you own the assets you accumulate for your time and attention. Other games don't give you that. Here you do. And when you get concerned, as Mike seems to be concerned, about the direction maybe, or the people are leaving, he says, or the SPS is dumping, he says, it's like, if you're terrified, you should liquidate and move on, because you got to have that certainty, that confidence. And it's okay to have these changes of mind, but you start with, is it fun? And does it have a future? And then secondarily, you can start asking, okay, well, that means if it's fun and if it has a future, I need to accumulate more SPS. Whether it means, 10 more, because that's all I can afford, 100 more, 1,000 more, 10,000, 100,000. It's going to be different stories for different people, and that's okay. And if you don't have all that you have, that's okay. If you don't have all that you quote unquote need, that's okay. Because Everyone is in that boat. Everyone. Maybe 10 players in this game have what they quote unquote need. And so again, is it fun? Does it have a future? Then start accumulating the asset that you require in order to enjoy and receive reward from the game. That's the core. And I want to spend a few minutes, and I think we are going to just only focus on this topic today because I got about 5-10 more minutes here. But I see this is from the recent town hall. And the recent town hall, and the notes, the comments from the peanut gallery are fun, and they're topical here, appropriate to the conversation. So Olaf goes, I don't know if it was addressed in the town hall, but I find it strange that there's nothing in the summary about the outrage that from most of the community regarding the ridiculous SPS requirements. Again, this word requirements, but it's not requirements, right? It's not. The SPS is, first of all, investment in the game is required in order to receive reward from the game. That's maybe fair to say, but then within the context of the SPS staking, the word really is like optimized or maximized. Your returns are going to be proportional to your investment in your stake around that. But it is not, if you have a low stake of SPS, there is still going to be reward available to you. And we don't know what that looks like. And as one of the commenters was to say, but he goes, are they just going to ignore those players? First of all, they did speak to this in the town hall, and Olaf, you should watch the town hall, man. People who come in here and read the town hall summary and expect that to encapsulate a 2-hour live conversation, it's not adequate. Go watch the live. They specifically talked to this question in the question and answer period, among other places, I think. And specifically they spoke to the idea that there is going to be an amount of reward available to participants, whether you have adequate, substantive SPS or not. But the question is, do you want more reward? Then you need more SPS. So again, do you believe in the future? Do you want these rewards because you believe in the future? Do you enjoy the game for its own sake? Then start accumulating SPS so that you can accrue more of the rewards that you think are going to be here for many, many years to come. Is this what the game has become? If those numbers don't drop drastically, I will lose all trust on the team. And the beauty about Olaf's comment, about Mike's comment, is you guys can sell your assets anytime. And by the way, like 2.5 years ago, whenever my channel really started growing, I feel like this is one of the main topics I used to share. It's like, there's going to come a bear market and people are going to say things like this. And there was a bear market before and people said things like this. And I just quietly accumulated and did my thing with my time and attention. And I'm quite happy I did. And I constantly reassess whether or not those questions about is the game fun and does it still have a future? And for me, I'm so certain it does. If Olaf's not, if Mike isn't, then I reluctantly, but actually gladly say to you, it's beautiful that you can take your lack of confidence and choose to sell the assets, because that's part of the revolutionary nature within Splinterlands, within blockchain-based video gaming. But let's see a couple comments. Eco Instant goes, there are no requirements. There is a curve space you should be asking for the equation. We know nothing yet. Maybe we get 95% from half of those numbers. Who knows? And this is exactly it, man. This is the thing most people are just glossing over. And when I see anger, there's truly anger in the comments, man. I hope you see that. Like what the tension around this topic. We've been here before with the card level requirements and actually the change of rewards at every level when we took away bronze rewards, when we changed. There's been so much of this over the months, and yet we keep going. And in fact, the game is growing and we're in a bear market, guys. Like this is the projections and the vision for what could happen where we could springboard in a true bull market is so wild. But yet the tension is so here because people are not really thinking about this, I don't think. You're not recognizing what this would mean for your SPS bag and the appreciation that might mean for it, because everyone needs more. And then, this idea that there's, we don't even know What the true equation is, the drop off in rewards as you have an inadequate, quote unquote, inadequate amount of SPS. Any amount of SPS is fine, but more is better. And so what does it look like if you have half of the SPS that they've said is the required amount for, maximal rewards, or quote unquote like full rewards? Then what, is it possible that half gives you most of your rewards? It's possible. We don't know. Plus, this is going to be a sliding scale, because if 99% of players lack SPS that they need, and then the 1% who have enough, and that might be you, can have more pie, more slice of the pie, because because of the others are not taking their full portions, if you know what I mean. Let's go on. Olaf responds, I understand how they work. We know everything. No, we don't. Sure, the numbers can change, but even half is too much. Nope. Wrong. We don't know everything. Champ 1 should be 100,000 at most. Based on what? Based on your preference? This is the opinion that is so clearly like for his own preference. I mean, I have 179,000. I don't have enough. I'm okay with this. Like because I'm going to keep accumulating. But do you have a vision to accumulate, or do you have a vision to complain about the need to accumulate? Because I, for one, want to write value and utility into SPS so that the accumulation I've already done and that I plan to do in the future will have a trajectory of appreciation. Because that's what I see from this SPS staking requirement. Again, not requirement, but there's no more precisely appropriate word, but that's also not adequate, if you know what I mean. Tobtada, SPS at 2 cents now means that it does not cost much to get those quote unquote requirements. As an added bonus, if the game does well over the next year, plus the investment will grow. This is it, man. And do you think that it will do well over the next year or two? Or 5. I'm thinking 5-10 years, to be honest, when SPS is no longer printed, when we are burning it because of the flywheel, when this game has grown and there's other games within the ecosystem and they're thriving, when there's a bull market on. Like, I'm thinking like not 2 cents, not 1 cent, $1, $2, like crazy, unfathomable places. And the question is, do you think that's possible? I mean, you can't make decisions. You shouldn't make decisions based on my confidence, but I'm telling you, I'm confident about the future. Even at 2 cents, the SPS for full requirements is over 8K. That's just absurd. Again, full rewards. Do you want partial? Are you okay with that? And you need to make that decision, because financially there's a question at every turn whether you buy the cards you need, right? There's certain summoners you need. There's certain tanks you need. There's certain carry cards you need. But do you buy them? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. You make decisions with your finances, and that's part of the micromanagement of the economy, which is the game within the game of Splinterlands, the economics, managing your DEC, your SPS, your land, eventually your land tokens, which cards you have and don't, modern versus wild. All of this is the game within the game, and you have to ascertain whether you want to go deeper into that, or you're okay at the level that you're currently receiving. And you will receive something at the level that you're participating in. Plus, one of the cool things out of this new next step is you'll be able to achieve champ with maybe diamond cards or with gold cards if you're talented enough. That's a new thing. And one last comment. The Real Wolf goes, no, Absurd is arguing against clever use case for SPS that was also described in the white paper. SPS is at 2 cents. Many people bought it when it was 5x or higher. You're getting massive discounts. Stop complaining and start buying. Again, stop complaining, start buying if you believe this game is fun and has a future. And if you don't, take this opportunity to sell, man. Like, there's no point in complaining if you FUD this. Like, this is, in my mind, this is a misunderstanding and it's actually just FUD. And so, but if that's you, then recognize your position, recognize where your heart's at, and take the opportunity to sell as you say the sky is falling. And I'll say you're wrong, and I'll be here in 5 years to keep covering it and tell you how you're wrong you'll watch the trend. I mean, maybe you might be watching and say, nope, Dwayne, you're clueless. You don't get it. The beauty is you can run with that thought. You can take action on your vision and expectation, which is, doubt and failure. But I'm taking action on my vision and my expectation, which is success and multiplication. And I'm stoked about this SPS staking. And I am overjoyed that they're honoring the white paper, because again, it speaks to the reliability and the scrupulousness of this team. They say something and they aim at it and they try to land there. Now, they don't always precisely land where they set out to land, but they try. And that's a beautiful thing. It builds trust and confidence. And I'm super excited to watch it unfold. I think this is an amazing thing, and I hope you do too. If you got more comments or questions about this content, please leave them below. I appreciate Mike's comment. I'm sorry if any of this sounded, upset with you, Mike. It's not. But I just feel very passionate that I think people are missing part of the opportunity side of this, and they're getting so fixated on quote unquote the risk that they're losing focus on the first question. Again, do you believe in the future of this thing? Because there's two parts to the puzzle. Risk is also opportunity if you believe in the future, and if you don't, then just unload the risk. Okay guys, thanks a lot. Have an amazing day. God bless.